Well, my name is Hehr. I'm the Minister of Veterans Affairs, and this is my Acting Deputy Minister, Karen Ellis. I'm so glad you could join us here on Facebook Live. We've had an amazing two-day summit here, hearing from 150 different veterans and veterans organizations, adding their contributions to views on our policies, our mental health strategy, our commemoration, and everything in between. And we think this is a wonderful time to be able to connect to broader Canadians, to hear from veterans and others interested in the field, to ask your questions to us and put us on the hot seat to see what developed out of this session, as well as to what we're thinking about and what we're trying to improve in the lives of our veterans and their families. So thank you very much for joining us, and I'm looking forward to this a great deal.
Okay, thank you, Minister. So maybe we'll start with a question from Facebook. Are you ready for the first question? Yes. This government campaigned on a promise to reinstate medical pension for injured veterans. Is this actually going to happen? And if so, when will these pensions be implemented?
Well, that's a great question. One of the most exciting days in my life was when I received my mandate letter from Prime Minister Trudeau on November 4th. Included in that mandate letter was to create an option for a lifetime pension for our medically injured veterans. And I can say we remain committed to each and every item in that mandate letter, including an option for a pension. We're working around the clock to try and look at what's best for veterans, but yet we know we want to just not do this rushed. We want to get this right, because for us to go to a system of delivering financial security for our veterans is the heart of what we want to do, because without financial security, it's very difficult to have mental health, physical health, all of those things that we want our veterans to have. So I can say proudly we are committed to this and the other pledges in my mandate letter from the Prime Minister.
Thank you. Do we have a question for the audience here? If not, we have a question from Twitter. Minister, when will you keep your promise to restore pension for veterans and settle the Equitas lawsuit?
Well, those are two questions there. I'll deal with the first one first. We learned here that over the course of the summit that there's a process to implementing promises and pledges that we made in our platform. It runs through a government cycle of putting in our information through to the cabinet, and then to deliver on that in our budget outcomes. And in our first budget in 2016, we delivered $5.6 billion in financial services to veterans and their families. We were very proud of that. The increase to the disability award, the increase to the permanent impairment allowance, and other changes that will better veterans and their families' lives. The stakeholder group had very many comments around differences between what was in the Pension Act and what is in the new Veterans Charter. They gave us great ideas on how they want to marry the best of both of these programs to ensure we have both a wellness model to allow our veterans to have employment and education opportunities and rehab opportunities to get them better, as well as that financial security. So the work is well underway. In regards to the Equitas lawsuit, I can say we're addressing many of those issues through the implementation of good public policy. Much of what we based our election platform on and what the policies were implemented are taking from various veterans and stakeholders groups who had issues with the former government, and the last relatively little progress that has happened over the last 10 years in regards to the new Veterans Charter. Where we brought it in, it was supposed to be a living document that was going to continue to add on, to be continued to worked on, to be continuing to help build veterans and their families' lives. We didn't see that over the last 10 years, and I think we showed good on our commitment to veterans in the last budget. I know the stakeholders here are holding to me account on implementing the rest of our mandate letter items, and that's what we're going to continue to do. Continue to work on financial security and better outcomes for veterans and their families, full stop.
Minister, you're a lawyer, and so is Jody Wilson-Raybould. She's the Attorney General of Canada. So the question is this: you had four options with the Equitas lawsuit. One was do nothing and let it continue. The second one was to draft a new abeyance agreement. The third one was to extend the abeyance agreement. And the fourth one was to undertake settlement negotiations pursuant to Section 9 of the British Columbia Rules of Supreme Court. Why did you choose to let the first option go ahead and let the lawsuit continue? Who's actually advising the lawyers in the Department of Justice, you or Jody Wilson-Raybould, on this particular file?
Well, first off, I'm a recovering lawyer and a struggling politician working as hard as I can to better their lives of veterans and their families. We believe that we're running government by good public policy. To be honest, sir, I can't run government by individual lawsuit. Okay? There are right now 45,000 lawsuits against the government of Canada. And I want to ensure that my department is focused on bettering the outcomes of veterans and their families' lives, full stop. That's what we're working towards, and we believe we're going to address many of the concerns expressed in many areas and forums across this country through the implementation of good public policy. I know that many in the veterans community were excited with our platform pledges that we ran on the last election and what we're delivering. And we're delivering so far on that mandate letter, and we'll continue to do so.
Maybe we can go to the question on Facebook and then you after. Is that okay? Okay. Is anything going to be done to close the gap between veterans on CSIP, long-term disability, and veterans on earnings loss benefit?
This is a great question, and it stems out our recent changes to the earning loss benefit and continuing to note that there are challenges and cleavages within the system itself. We have a patchwork of programs and policies that have developed over the last 50, 60, 70 years, and every government that has come along has tried to fix these problems with Scotch tape, duct tape, or whatever they had in their back pocket. We right now, with the work I'm doing with Minister Sajan on closing the seam, trying to get better outcomes for people transitioning from Department of National Defense to Veterans Affairs is at the heart of the mandate, as well as looking at the discrepancies in payment scales and the like that have developed over the last umpteen years in the making to develop a more holistic approach to veteran-centric communities, veteran-centric financial security that will work for them and their families. That work has really taken profound steps over the course of the summer. And if you were here, we had Chief of Defense Staff John Vance here for our noon hour presentation, who explained the difficulties in these systems and the complex array of services provided by Veterans Affairs Canada, the Department of National Defense. We're trying to simplify, clarify, and make them more effective for veterans and their families.
Thank you. I think we have a question from the audience.
Thank you, Minister, for taking questions. I was fortunate enough to participate in the summit, and I really enjoyed the fact that we focused on some very important and challenging topics like mental health. We talked about families, care and support, and we talked a lot about these issues in a blue sky thinking manner. There's a lot of I want, there's a lot of I need. We know the reality of the situation is that we may not get all the things that we need. I'm wondering on behalf of the summit members, but also those listening and the general public and other veterans and their families, how will they then see the records of decisions going forward about some of these new services, programs, that type of thing, to see that the work that we're doing is in fact creating decisions and programs and services. Does that make sense as a question?
Yes, you're perfectly correct. We had 6 advisory groups present issues for us to consider for implementing our mandate commitments, as well as beyond that, as looking at the future, what can be best for veterans and their families. And you point out a real good point. Good public policy is often balanced with the ability of the government to deliver in terms of adding capacity to the system through actual budget dollars. That's the reality of the system that we live in. Is that we have to balance good public policy with the ability of the coffers of the Government of Canada. And I think rectifying some of these issues, which I have learned of over the last 10 months and many more that were brought up here, will filter into us to be able to prioritize and focus on what can be delivered this upcoming cycle, as well as what we continue to work towards building in the future. We can't look at these as just a one and done scenario. Like, you didn't deliver on your commitments, full mandate item list in budget 2016. What's the matter with you? Although that is the sentiment of some. We have a long way to go, and we know we're going to get there. It may take time, it may take patience, but yeah, we're working towards better outcomes. Full stop.
Maybe we can take another question from Facebook, and then we'll come back a question in the audience. And this is a question in French, and it's regarding the backlog of files at Veteran Affairs. Le ministre peut-il commenter sur l'arriéré de dossiers à Anciens combattants Canada? Plus de 11 000 dossiers en retard. J'ai soumis ma dernière demande en janvier 2016 et je n'ai pas encore reçu de réponse.
Merci pour votre question. But since that's about the extent of my French, although I am taking lessons, I am going to have Karen answer it, and then I will add my flair in my language. I'm going to need some more time on my pratiquer français.
Très bien, ministre. Maintenant, nous avons plus que 11 000 dossiers en cours. Ça veut dire qu'ils sont en train d'être réglés. Et dans ce nombre, dans ce chiffre, on a 3 500 qui maintenant prend plus que 16 semaines pour résoudre. Et la raison pour laquelle c'est la situation, c'est que ces dossiers sont les plus complexes et ça prend plus de temps et plus de recherche et plus de consultation à vraiment régler et terminer les dossiers. C'est notre réalité. Quand tu as des cas plus complexes, ça prend plus de temps.
And I thank you for that question. And just to clarify, there are the 11,000 number that are in. Those are the current applications that are before Veterans Affairs of Canada. And I will say that the vast majority of them, 8,000 of them, are with our timelines and guidelines for when we would like a decision to be made. There are 3,500 that are outside the recommended timelines, which we try to keep to. Of that 3,500, many of them are complex cases which need analysis and detail and, of course, some officiousness to complete. That's the reality. But I also point out that since in the last year, since we've been the government of the day, we have increased by 27% the amount of disability claims that have come in and gotten out the door. We're very proud of this increased surface. The next thing is that 22% more claims are coming into the department. And that's because they know our government is working hard, getting out there, meeting with veterans and say, please apply, come get the benefits that you're entitled to. And I think some of that work has come from the result of us being from coast to coast to coast this summer, opening offices, okay? That's one of the things that has created a lot of excitement around our government. Also, the fact that we've hired 250 new frontline staff. The former government cut up to 1/3 of my frontline staff. That made it very difficult for them, one, to do outreach, and two, to deliver on the services veterans and their families need. So I actually look at this as a bit of a good news story, if you can believe that. We're moving in the right direction.
Thank you. I think there's a question from the audience.
All right. We clearly hear yesterday General Vance's commitment to address sexual misconduct in the Canadian Armed Forces. We know that Veterans Affairs was not included in Commission des Champs scope, and I was curious to know what is your plan to assess the needs of military sexual trauma survivors and how to ensure the needs that these veterans are met?
And that's a very good question. I was very impressed with General Vance and the direction he has set under his mandate to end discrimination within the Canadian Armed Forces in any form and fashion. I believe he calls it his honor pledge that he's going forward with. And I'm very proud to be Associate Minister of National Defense and work with him on these strategies. And in my unique role, and I think it was very wise of our Prime Minister to make me both Veterans Affairs Minister and Associate Minister of National Defense, so we can coordinate the work they're currently doing in the military on this, take what they're developing and move that into our services, into Veterans Affairs Canada. So when people who are medically releasing, who still need that assistance on a physical or a mental health issue, can come in and get the help they need where and when they need it. Because our counselors should be adept and should be up to speed on being able to do it. So I appreciate the question. Karen, maybe you can augment that answer with more details of where we are.
Well, what I would say is the minister mentioned yesterday, we know that for certain cases, for people who have really got serious injuries, they get a case manager would be assigned to them. And that is one way in which somebody could talk about an issue such as the sexual trauma that you've mentioned, and would be able to get access to a whole plan of the kinds of treatments and support they might need. The minister mentioned yesterday that we're doing a pilot that's actually started in 3 cities. We want to test something called guided support, because we know there's kind of a gap for people who might not need yet or don't know if they need the full case management, but are very, maybe they're stressed, maybe they just don't know where to start in terms of finding the help they need in the department. And so we're testing out with sort of a trial group of veterans in 3 parts of Canada for 6 months to say, how can we do a much more hands-on, personalized approach to help people that need more than a MyVac account or an electronic solution, who actually need to talk to somebody to help them find their way to the right services without having to do all the heavy lifting themselves. So we're trying that out for 6 months, and at the end of the fiscal year, we'll iron out whatever didn't work and work on what does work, and then we'll obviously want to expand that across the department and make that something that makes it easier for people to get the help they need sooner. So I know that's one important piece we know we need to work on, and we are.
I would also be remiss if I didn't take the opportunity to show that our department is committed to having case managers work within a reasonable realm so people can get actually help when they need it from a case manager. When I came into the department, many of our case managers had sometimes 35, 45 people they were directly working with, and they had no ability to keep up or give that individualized attention that is needed in many cases. Now, under the change in government and the hiring back of people who serve and continue to be able to have backgrounds to deliver the services on case management, we're moving to a standard of an average of 25-1. We believe this will have real impacts on people's lives that will allow them to get the individualized care that them and their families need.
And the last thing I would just offer is Charlotte is here. She's our acting Deputy Minister for Service Delivery. But I mentioned in an earlier part of the summit that if there is a really urgent case or someone is really in a crisis and things are not moving quickly enough and they need help right away, we do have a system where their file will be raised to our attention, you know, including to mine and the deputies and the minister's office, and we will address that, you know, sort of that day we reach out and try to help that person. So in those cases when somebody is in really dire need, we will make that a top priority for the day.
Thank you. Maybe we can take another question from Facebook. Hi, Minister. I was wondering if you could better explain the education that was mentioned during the election. Can you please let me know what will the new benefit entail and who will be entitled to it? Thank you.
Well, in my mandate letter was a commitment to provide education opportunities to veterans and to allow them the ability to get retraining, educated, whether that be through a certificate program, whether it be from a 2-year college program to a full university program. And I can say right now that we're working on options for that to happen. Part of that work is with Minister Sajan, because right now the Department of National Defense has when you're serving, has a fairly comprehensive program in that regard. We have some programs that assist in this after the fact, but it's not as robust as we'd like. And we're working on options to really get veterans and their families the ability to go back to school. So other than I can tell you that we're working on it, the details have not emerged on a final solution, but we remain committed to this and the other items on my mandate agenda, which it's kind of the people here at the 6 advisory committees reminded me of a time or two these last 2 days. So it refocused my attention always on that mandate letter, what we committed to Canadians and our veterans, and we're working hard to get it done.
Thank you. We have a question from the audience.
Minister, last stakeholder meeting, there was a very heated discussion on medical marijuana, and you bought out all these figures on how much money was costing VAC to help out our veterans, but no figures were ever bought out about how much money was saved by the pharmaceuticals that veterans weren't using. Plus, and the other thing is that you stated that you were looking at changing the rules on within VAC. Now, this stakeholders meeting, not one word was ever mentioned about what was bought for from the other stakeholders meeting. Can you amplify on that?
Well, I appreciate the question. And when I came into Veterans Affairs Canada, I was shocked to find there was no policy surrounding the use of marijuana for medical purposes. And as we all know, this is an emerging field with various viewpoints on it. And we have taken the time now to meet with stakeholders, meet with the medical community, consult on a wide array of people who are working in this field to foment what we're going to be delivering soon as an actual policy around this, with the health and wellness of veterans at the core of our mandate. And we're continuing that work. I appreciate the question because you know, it's an important issue, and how we deal with this in a holistic fashion that ensures veterans are doing the best they can is at the heart of our mandate. I frankly would have liked this to be done earlier, but I think rushing it does not serve anyone's purpose. And I think our department's doing a great job of making sure we get all the information and not rushing into a decision.
So nothing's been changed and everybody still receives the same policy of most people at the time.
We're working on a policy that will come out in due time.
Sure. Maybe we can go to a question to Facebook. And the next question is in French, And it's a question regarding the change to the disability award to occur in April 2007. Est-ce que les vétérans qui ont déjà reçu une indemnité d'invalidité recevront un paiement rétroactif en avril, lorsque le montant maximal atteindra 360 000 $, et si oui, jusqu'à quelle date?
Oui, la réponse est oui. Et l'augmentation sera payée à partir du 1er avril 2006, la date de la nouvelle charte.
So my understanding is that we're implementing our disability award April 1st of 2017.
We are, and the payments will start going back to April 1st, from April 1st, 2006, the date of the new Veterans Charter.
And that's what we thought when we implemented this, that was fair, that we recognize that moving our disability award from $310,000 to $360,000, which was a recommendation of the Veterans Ombudsman, was the right thing to do. And to have left out people who came earlier, despite that recommendation going forward a long time ago, I can say it was brought up in the committee level under the former government. No action was taken. I'm proud of the fact that our government has moved on that recommendation. It's going to be more money in veterans' pockets to be able to build their lives. We're very proud of that commitment.
Okay. Any question from the audience?
Minister, I have one question with regards to that lump sum increase on April 1st. I work for a well-being network, and a lot of the guys are asking how long until that policy implementation actually reaches the bank account? Like, do you have a forecast of, there's 54,000 plus claims. Do you guys have an idea of how long it'll take?
Well, I know we're starting at April 1st, but I will let Karen
Part of my
give
question,
the
sir,
answer.
is with all these new managers that you're hiring, are we going to go into a backlog of the top up or the ongoing claims?
What I would just kick it off by saying that whenever we do have a surge of new kinds of benefits and things coming in, we develop a plan to be able to bring in maybe some extra help at the time. There will always, of course, we have to adjust depending on volume and what time frame they come into. But I'm going to ask Charlotte to speak to that because she actually is in the business of, directing all of those implementation pieces.
We're working out the implementation plan, but it's to make it as smooth as possible for veterans, not having to fill out an application. People that have received the awards, we know who they are, and they'll be contacted so we can proceed with the payment as soon as possible on April 1st.
I guess my question is, what's the plan for that implementation? Is it alphabetical? Is it by 2006, 2007? How do you plan to start doling that money back out to the veterans?
It wouldn't be, it would be all at once for all the veterans.
We have calculators and systems that get prepped up to let the payment move quickly.
Okay.
Kestrel.
My question is with to the lump sum payment award. There is a little bit of confusion on it. I have seen some communications come out on the Veterans Affairs Canada website on what it would mean, and the explanation to me is not quite clear. Dennis LeBlanc, I'm here at the summit, and I'm honored to be here, and I still don't have clarification. So my question would be, in April 1st, 2006, the charter came into effect. So say April 2nd, 2006, Corporal Bloggins gets blown up. 2017, April 1st, is Corporal Bloggins. He initially got paid out $250,000, just an estimate. So is that Corporal Bloggins going to get the complete top up to $360,000? Or is there going to be some formula to cut it down so he actually will not get the full payout?
We did the disability award, recognizing it moved from $310,000 to $350,000. What people receive their former disability award will be based upon a percentage formula of what increase they would have received should have the disability award been $360,000 at the time of their award being given. We sense this is fair, and we sense going back to the time the new Veterans Charter was implemented is the right thing to do. We also want to ensure people are going to get financial counseling, the ability to make decisions for them and their family. They're going to benefit their lives. And we are also, coupling this with what we're doing on the financial security side of things and what we've already done.
And maybe I could add, the 360,000 for the disability award is the new maximum. So the calculation for somebody's disability award is based on what kind of injuries and extent of injury they have. And so whatever would have been what they were awarded, will be obviously adjusted accordingly.
However, my question is, he was paid at 100%, $250,000 in 2006. In 2017, is that member who was paid out at 100% at 2006 going to receive the new maximum of $360,000?
Well, my understanding is yes, but just to make sure, please contact the department so your friend does not get misinformation, so we fully know the file, fully understand the exact parameters, and that this doesn't turn into a game of telephone tag. Okay? Where I heard this, I heard this. We want to be right, and someone from the department should be able to run through what the award was at the time under the new circumstances, what it is going to be. Does that sound fair?
Yes, that's fair. Thank you.
Perfect.
Okay, we can, one more question from Facebook?
Yeah, we'll do one more.
Okay. Parks Canada is not part of the priority hire for veterans. Can that be changed?
Well, I appreciate this question. And my understanding is that since 2014, we have a Priority Hiring Act that wants to see more veterans who wish to work in the public service come and join our team. We remain committed to this as a government, and we understand that we have to do better on ensuring veterans transition and have opportunities to work in the public service. And I'll full well admit, right now, we are not doing as good a job as we should in that regard. We see our veterans numbers not where I would like them to be. So part of our work this summer has been working toward what is effective programs to allow for veterans to get jobs, whether that be in the public service or in the private sector or starting their own businesses. So we sense we're getting a pretty good handle of what can actually move people's lives forward, experimenting with a whole host of options that we're going to present. And yet on the specific questions on Parks Canada, I'll continue to think about that and look at where we go. But maybe Karen, you do know the specific reference to Parks Canada and the reason and the rationale at this time?
I could certainly comment. Parks Canada is one of a number of agencies that are part of the Government of Canada. So they sometimes operate under some different types of rules and legislation. But that said, we've already started to work with Parks Canada and other agencies to try and build a similar approach for them to be open to hiring our veterans. So definitely that's in the works. I think there's a lot of openness to this.
Like, just in close, I want to thank each and every one of you who have taken part via Facebook, as well as this is the third summit I've had since being Minister of Veterans Affairs. I've had the opportunity to learn a lot, to grow a lot, to understand the needs and the issues that are out there, and understand that I will continue to work as hard as I can to make veterans and their families' lives better. And I just hope everyone understands that it's a work in progress. We will get there, and we're all in it together, and we'll continue to build not only a better veterans community, but a better Canada together. Take care.
Okay,
Thank you so much for
thanks.
coming on board today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Deputy. I'd like to just mention that we didn't get to all the questions that we were getting from Twitter and Facebook, so we'll be following with responses to those questions. So I'd like to thank everybody's participation on Facebook Live and in this audience, and thank you, and have a good afternoon.
Perfect.